Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
All right, hello there. I am got my eyes covered up here because we're doing one of those strobe light fire drills. Celine's going to tell me when I can open my eyes. Good morning. Hello, how you doing? It's Tuesday.
I think we're good.
We're good?
I think so.
All right. Hi, it's October 6th, and it's Tuesday. And that means my sister, Susan, is on the line. Hi, Suze.
Hi.
Hey, Suze.
Hopefully I won't gag and choke to death.
Well, you sound great. So, jeez. This is what shit. So here's the thing, Susan.
What?
It started up again. Why did that happen? Okay, so here's the thing. I now have that cough.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. And so it's not a matter of you. It's much more likely that I am going to start coughing and like that and not be able to stop.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Uh-oh. It happened yesterday. And if that happens, I'm just telling everybody now. Did that stop? Oh, didn't.
Still on. I'll tell you.
I'm just telling everybody right now that we'll cut my mic and go to a commercial break. Okay? And
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because there isn't anything you can do about it.
No. And it is true. It's the same
and they
cough.
Don't stop.
No, it doesn't stop, and you start gagging. And
That's right.
I know. It's the same goddamn thing. How'd I catch it from you over the phone?
It's a powerful bug. I think actually it was the flu.
You do?
Yeah, because I had terrible aches and stuff.
Well, I don't. I feel fine except for that.
Hmm.
Who the hell cares? Who knows? But I mean, I can tell it's gonna.
All right. Well, don't, because you can psych yourself into it.
Uh-oh. So I was on the bus today, and I had to cough, and I thought, oh no. And it was packed, and I thought, oh no. And I was like choking myself, trying not to. What I did is I didn't open my mouth, but that horrible sound. And the woman sitting next to me got up and left.
And moved, right.
I don't blame her, but I just thought, oh God, I'm trying really hard here, guys. I'm just trying really, really hard.
That it happened. I went into a little place to get a manicure, and I sat down and I got hit.
Yeah.
And there's tears streaming out my eyes. They're wiping my eyes. I'm going, I'm really not sick. It's just a cough.
Yeah, right. Away. But that cough, I mean, I don't know. Whatever the hell it is. Anyway.
It's terrible. Anyway.
Terrible.
Well, this isn't very interesting.
It is not. However, there's got to be some interesting stuff going on in the world that won't make us all gag. Not really, huh? Oh, here's one that pissed me off, but it's not a big to-do. It's just the same old, same old. So this happens at least once a year where medical wisdom is turned upside down, and something that you were absolutely told not to do, now you're supposed to do, or something you were supposed to take,
right.
Now you're not
Don't
supposed
eat butter, eat butter. Eat margarine, don't eat margarine.
I know. It's just...
Too much salt, nah. Eat vitamins, they don't work.
No, I know. So, healthcare is about, I don't know. Taking care of yourself is not easy, especially if you're conscientious and pay attention to all this stuff. So I do take calcium. I've been told for years to take calcium. Do you take calcium?
Nope.
What was that?
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't? Okay, yeah. Okay, well, I
think
was...
it's far more important to do weight.
You can do both. Okay,
training.
weight-bearing exercise.
And what you do is you try and eat calcium-rich
Yes,
foods,
and I do that too.
That's the only way you can get it.
I do that too, and calcium-enriched and suffused orange juices and this and that. I mean, it's just, oh man, I'm getting so much calcium, it's a joke. Plus, you add vitamin D onto that, man. You pile the vitamin D on. And it's because, especially for women, when you age, your bones, and we got little teeny skinny bones, Susan. Hello?
Yeah.
They get brittle.
Yeah.
And they can break. And I was told for bone density reasons, absolutely calcium. Okay. Today, New York Times. Headline: calcium isn't a bone saver.
Yeah, and how many belly aches did you get from that stuff?
I don't think I got any, but
I get belly aches from it. That's why I stopped taking it.
Okay, I got an industrial-sized bottle just the other day of calcium to get me through the next 3 weeks or something.
Well, throw it out.
Calcium eaten in foods.
That's right.
Or taken, as a supplement, has little or no effect on bone density.
Oh.
So you don't even have to eat broccoli anymore. There it goes.
But I like it.
Okay. Has little effect on bone density or the risk of fracture in people over 50 years old. Now, of course, something can come out next year at this time that'll completely put this on and tell you to start taking calcium absolutely. I don't know. I think the only thing that they know makes a difference is weight
doing
bearing.
weight
right.
resistant training.
Right. Hey, speaking of that, I read something the other day that really blew my mind. That said that these weightlifters, like the big, huge,
right.
Arnold Schwarzenegger in his youth. It says that they are not necessarily, their muscles are not necessarily strong. They have, I couldn't believe what I was reading. They said that somebody with much smaller muscles, but muscles that were essentially quality over quantity, that something about the way those guys build up their muscles, they're not building them to work, to do something, to be, and it said that a much littler person could take them down in hand wrestling, could a lot of things. They are not as strong as they look.
Well, I think that makes sense because if you look at the moves that those weightlifters of super heavy weights do, they're doing clean and jerks, so it's just there's nothing subtle. It's as fast as they can get it and then push up. So all they're asking of their muscles is that sudden force and then to maintain it for a couple of seconds and then they're done. And if you actually exercise correctly, what you're doing is using much less weight and doing it in slow motion.
Yeah. Well, I wish
Which doesn't necessarily, pump up muscles. It defines them, but it makes you a whole lot stronger.
Yeah, it's something to do about the way the muscle tissue, and I wish I'd cut it out, damn it. Now it's just gone, whatever that was. But it did say that those guys who just look so ridiculously strong, they're obviously stronger. They're strong. They got to be strong. But there's something about the quality of their musculature, which is not as good as somebody who's doing other kinds of exercise that doesn't make them look weird like that. So go figure.
And there are, for example, Pilates, which builds muscle tone but stretches it so that the muscles develop in a long and lean way.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, but you can, without the aid of plastic surgery, one can sculpt one's body.
All right. Let's not go here. I have to work out today.
Me too.
All right.
I'm trying to psych myself.
Well, you're just depressing me, so let's not talk about it. Okay. So Bernie Sanders voted against the Brady bill. Remember the Brady bill?
Sure.
That was after
the
the
gun
Reagan
control bill that came in. And
that was
named
after
James Brady after he was shot.
Right,
in the
and
Reagan attempt of the assassination.
That is correct. James Brady, who was Reagan's press secretary, who was grievously wounded in the assassination attempt on Reagan. And he and his wife became the big gun control folks of the time, the era. And the Brady bill, as it was called, was passed. Obviously, God knows what. Who knows what was in the Brady bill at this point. But I think there was some measure of background check and stuff. I don't even remember.
Right, but he didn't think it was strong enough.
Well, no, of course it wasn't. Anyway, no, Sanders voted against it. What, because he didn't think it was strong enough? No.
Yeah, why?
Because he's generally doesn't, because he's a senator from Vermont. That's why. Well, he was in the House then. He voted against it. Why? I'm not sure. In 2005, he voted in favor of a bill to shield gun manufacturers and gun dealers from lawsuits.
Why? Well, so much for our socialist, progressive Bernie.
So there you go. Because in Vermont, that's a state where everybody's got guns, hunting. I mean, hunting's a big thing there. But the NRA is, that's an NRA stronghold. And Bernie Sanders wouldn't buck them. So I don't know how that makes Bernie Sanders fans feel, but you can, I don't know. No candidate is going to agree with you on everything, but that's particularly disappointing.
Well, and this is a big thing.
Well, listen, let me one more thing. After Newtown, Sanders, then a senator, did vote for expanding background checks and banning assault weapons. Neither of those things, though, passed muster, as far as I recall. But he then found himself on the right side. So it's pointed out that his stance on gun control has not been great, and he it's a soft spot for him in his insurgency candidacy. I don't know what to tell you. In the aftermath of the most recent shooting, he said this. He said he could support gun control measures, but said the rights of law-abiding gun owners must be protected. In fact, it says here, he sounded downright skeptical on the push for tighter laws. Quote, "If you pass the strongest gun control legislation tomorrow, I don't think it will have a profound effect on the tragedies we have seen." That's what he said just the other day in Vermont. Well, that's not good.
Well, that's because there's already so many guns out there that it's like
that's this defeatist kind of
No, I
attitude.
don't. I'm not saying don't. I'm saying let's do everything anyway. What you have to do is change a culture. So, you do all sorts of things that might feel ineffectual, but go towards changing the way people think.
Well,
and most people think that this is crazy.
I know, right? They do. So, I don't know if you read Christoph's piece in Sunday's New York Times. I talked about it on the show yesterday, and I think it's brilliant. And it says we've got to completely change the approach, and what we've got to do is redefine this issue. And the issue is that this is a huge public health crisis.
Yeah,
right.
Except that we have legislation that forbids doctors to mention that guns can be dangerous in the home.
Or prevents people, epidemiologist types who want to understand the crisis, from gathering data and information about who's getting killed and where the gun's coming from and blah, 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 the way you would attack a crisis like that. And so, obviously, I think that's brilliant that we do, such as, he pointed out, you say to an NRA nut something like, we just got to stop the carnage, and they'll say, yeah, well, more people are killed in automobiles, and you didn't ban cars. And he said, no, it's the same kind of a thing. What we did realize when we saw the car as a safety issue is we started instituting regulations and rules so that fewer people would die if they were in an accident. And that's where you get seat belts and airbags and collapsible steering columns and all that kind of stuff. Drivers have to be licensed. Drivers have to have liability insurance, all this kind of stuff. And guess what? The amount of deaths by car dropped by 95%. That's right. That's the tack. We've got a call. Hello, caller.
How you doing today?
I'm okay, thank you.
Okay, I agree with you on all that stuff you were saying about the changing the laws and that. But another thing needs to be done is this news media needs to curb their.
Ugh.
They said, you know who that Jim Kavanaugh, I think it is?
No.
I don't know. He was in the police. He's retired. He said, you wouldn't believe the copycat effect this has on.
Mm-hmm.
That when the news media puts it on,
sure.
People,
yeah,
they glorify it.
It's not that they glorify it. They make the shooter into
a hero.
Not a hero, but a celebrity, as somebody whose writings get published and put out there, whose thoughts are put out there, who's talked about. And for a loser, because that's what these shooters are, and for a loser, that is incredibly compelling. That and we have it from their own mouths that they looked with delight at other shooters and how they became sort of famous. And so they went for it too. You're absolutely right.
And I took your advice the other day when you said don't watch it, and I didn't. I did not. And you're right. What does it do for anybody?
Nothing.
I mean, you feel sorry and everything, but to know what all the victims' names are and what their history is, it tells you nothing. So I didn't watch it.
No, it makes you miserable because you realize all these wonderful
you.
people were destroyed by this loser.
Exactly.
With easy access to guns, legal access to guns. I don't know. I don't know what we do, but I do think redefining it as a public health crisis, because the numbers clearly show it is. Susan, I don't know if you saw the statistic that since 1970, more Americans have been killed by guns than died in every single war in this country's history. So add them up from the Revolutionary War to the present day, and you don't have as much carnage as we have seen since 1970 with gun deaths. If that ain't a public health crisis, if it were any other thing that was killing us like that, all hell would break loose, right? So we just have to redefine it, I think. Caller, don't you think that's a good idea?
Yes.
Thank you.
Have a nice day, lady.
You too. You too. Yeah, that's it.
Well, when all the bad guys were running around Chicago shooting each other in the 20s and during Prohibition, and I mean, it was crazy here.
Yeah,
they were just mowing people down right and left.
They still are. We got a call. Hello.
Hello, Clarence, Canonsburg.
Yes, Clarence from Canonsburg.
Did I hear Susan say that doctors can't say anything to their patients about guns?
No, in Florida, I'm aware of only Florida, that pediatricians were legislatively barred, I believe, from asking their, a mother, do you have guns in the house?
Is that a freedom of speech issue?
Yeah, I definitely think.
Well, I'm sure it wouldn't pass constitutional muster, but they did it anyway.
And a statistic that I was just surprised here. I'm like, they're always talking about the Second Amendment. What about the First Amendment?
Yeah, exactly. And why is it the first?
And a statistic I heard that there were more children killed by guns. I didn't listen yesterday, Hobie, than there are police officers killed.
That
by
is
guns.
true. That was in the same Christoph column in, I think, 2013. That was the year that they had the numbers for. Something like 37 police officers in this country were killed by a gun in the line of duty. And at the same time, in the same year, something like 83 preschoolers died.
Yeah, it was preschoolers. It wasn't even children. It was preschoolers.
No. Yeah, there's more two and a half times as many preschoolers are killed as police officers. Isn't that something? And we hear a lot of moaning and groaning about the police officers. Do you hear anything about the preschoolers? No.
Just kids' lives matter.
Yeah, right.
I was, when the 8-year-old got shot by the 11-year-old, you heard about that one, right? Because I didn't listen yesterday. That
was just yesterday, and I swear I took that up. But you see, this is the kind of people say, and here's where the NRA, this kid, this is an 11-year-old kid? Yeah, an 11-year-old boy who asked to see this little girl's puppies. And she said no. And he went over to his house, and he got a gun, and he killed her dead.
He didn't even go. He shot the gun through the window.
Oh, he did?
It was his neighbor.
Yeah,
so
okay.
He didn't even walk out the house with the gun.
Okay.
He shot it. He shot her through the window.
And here it puts the lie to what the NRA says, that that somehow the gun is not a gun on a table. Someone said, one of these NRA nuts, doesn't kill anybody. Somebody has to pick that gun up. Well, right. But if you have the kind of gun nut culture we have, and an 11-year-old boy knows exactly where to get the gun in his house, his parents there should be laws which make them culpable in this murder. They've charged the 11-year-old with first-degree murder.
Yeah.
Well, I would suggest, it should, if it were a felony, to have a loaded gun unsecured in a home.
Yeah, but that you think that'll pass?
Parents could be charged with felony murder.
That's right. But it ain't going to, see, that's how, the only other way we're going to get a handle on this is by literally throwing people out of the Congress. Voters have got to make this, it's what the president said, have to make this a single issue.
Yeah, the gun on the table argument, because I argue long and hard on Facebook with, my gun nut Facebook friends. And I said, and marshmallows on a table don't cause cavities.
Yeah.
any inanimate object, And this one guy said, I told him, he said, you're blaming an inanimate object. And I said, no. I said, yeah. I said, kind of, sort of. I said, you remember in 2001, inanimate object box cutters were used to kill 3,000 people with an inanimate object, a plane. And did we make new laws? End the conversation.
Yeah, we sure did.
Yeah, end the conversation.
We changed our way of life. However, that death toll is nowhere near the death toll from these guns. And by the way, 60% of all the gun deaths in this country,
Suicide.
exactly, they're suicides. Now the NRA types say, well, then those don't belong in this. You can't count them. What do you mean you can't count them? If
I thought the interesting part of that statistic were that in England, that when they did ban guns, the rate of suicide went down.
Well, I think in England they said they used to put.
Oh no!
No, they put their head in the oven.
They changed the kind of gas in
That's
the oven.
right.
Yeah, they were using coal gas.
Yeah,
Right,
people were
so
killing themselves.
They couldn't stick their
Head
head
in the oven
anymore, and they stopped killing themselves.
That's right. That is
That's
correct.
how Sylvia Plath killed herself
Yeah,
in England.
exactly. That's how you did it. You put your head in the oven. So they changed the way the ovens worked, and so the suicide rate went. If it isn't easy to kill yourself, it might take a little time, and you'll be, you'll feel different 10 minutes later. A gun makes whatever thought you have at that very moment the last thought you can have, whereas it's unbelievable to me that people don't see that the suicide rate would drop hugely if people didn't have ready access to guns. As with the murder rate, of course.
Well, I guess if these people get their heads out their asses and stick them in the ovens,
we'd all be
they
better
won't
off.
die. Maybe we get some gun legislation done.
A good one. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Somebody sent me something about Bernie Sanders and his gun votes. It's from the PolitiFact, and they're saying that he's being unfairly called, a gun nut enabler. So they have a list of all his votes. He voted against the Brady bill, which imposed a 5-day waiting period and background checks. He voted against it. But he voted for, the same year, instant background checks for firearm purchases. I don't understand what the difference is. I don't know. To ban semi-automatic assault weapons in 1994, he voted yes. He then voted against repealing that 3 years later. He voted to increase minimum sentencings for gun crimes. So he pretty much, his record isn't that awful. And in fact, the NRA, 2006, he voted against something that prohibits funds from being used to enforce trigger locks on guns. Prohibits funds from being used to... Yeah, so that's a good vote, too. Okay, so maybe... Beth, thank you for that. Sanders has a relatively moderate stance on guns, and the former NRA research coordinator says that the NRA does not consider Sanders an anti-gunner, and he's received mixed marks from the NRA. But others say he's a gun lobby lapdog. Oh, he isn't a gun lobby. So he's in the middle. He's a moderate on the issue. If that's that's my problem. Oh shit! Excuse me. Stop! Where are you? Oh, you're right there.
Who's calling you? I want to know.
Tony, and she knows better. So. Michaela says Bernie voted against the Brady bill because of the waiting period it added before you could buy a gun. Background checks would not have stopped the shooter in Oregon, and he was never involuntarily committed. None of the guns he used were assault weapons. Yeah, I know. I mean, no. But all of the neighing, and that one to stop this one and that one, it doesn't matter. Let's start where we can and redefine this as the largest public health crisis facing the country, and actually has been for a long, long time. Look what we did when one person got Ebola. There were calls to, seal the borders. Yeah. We allow, okay, well, never mind.
Yeah, there's absolutely no question that all this requires is the will to do something.
That's right. And what's happened, though, is we've lost that.
There's no reason why we can't turn this around and turn the culture around. And there's no reason why we're in a place where children have access to guns and are, somewhat routinely blowing each other away.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. So it's a matter of resolve on our part and stop being numb and defeatist. I've been there. God knows. I said long ago, I surrender. It's over. We can't change this. That's not good enough, and it's too damn easy. We've got
look at what
tobacco.
We did to tobacco.
Look what we did to tobacco.
Exactly. I think that's the prime example. No, you can't take away my cigarettes. I have a right to do this. But the culture was such that it became, humiliating to be in public with a cigarette. You'd have to account for yourself and apologize, and people felt they had the right to say rude things to you. I remember all this, being a heavy smoker at one time.
Well, the reality is it was changed into a public health crisis. That's why Christoph says this is the way to go. Mike in Philly wrote, "My wife and I solved gun control." Well, I'm glad to hear that. While talking about this one night and late into the morning. "We require all gun owners to carry insurance." I agree. And that's what Christoph said. There has to be a requirement, just like with a car. Just like your car and homeowners, blah, blah, blah. "With each gun purchase, you have to insure the gun. It will insure you against theft, misuse, injury, and death. Won't be hard to get insurance companies to get on board. No, certainly. And with each gun you purchase, your insurance would go up because the more guns in your home, the more likely you are to hurt somebody. This would immediately eliminate straw purchases. If you get a gun stolen, your insurance goes up. If you go to training and have a gun safe, your insurance goes down. This will stop people from stockpiling guns because they would simply not be able to afford to. This will not be constitutional. It will not be constitutional.
No, you can't do that. It's like a poll tax. You can't, but
you can demand the insurance because we did for cars.
You can demand the insurance, but you can't use the argument that they're using. The argument that they're using makes it unconstitutional.
And he says, second, you have to have a doctor's note showing that you are of sound mind and body in order to purchase a gun. It's funny. I have to have 3 clearances in order to be a teacher. FBI clearance, child abuse clearance, and common background check. These have to be done every 3 years in order for me to keep my certificate valid. I have no problem with it. There are far less teachers hurting kids than guns hurting kids. Well, we can argue that. So why aren't gun owners held to at least the same standard? Well, I agree with you, and I apologize for my teacher remark there.
For your snark, at the very least. I mean, in 1976, when I became a member of the bar, I had to go down to this courthouse and be fingerprinted.
I wanted to volunteer in my child's school library, and I had to go through a bunch of checks. Yeah. Or even to volunteer as a cafeteria worker when he was in kindergarten, I remember. I had to be checked. People have to go through more to give you a manicure. Oh, God. We're out of our minds. Okay.
Oh, really?
So, did you see the one about the Texas school book?
No. Now what are they doing?
Oh, dear God.
I mean, they're always, that's the upside to computers is that it will make Texas not be so instrumental in what's in all of our textbooks because they won't necessarily be printing them all.
Okay, so here's
and
the
they're
thing.
easier to edit. But go on. Now what are they doing?
Okay, so this kid in Pearland, Texas. It's about 20 miles south of Houston. He's reading his his book, and it's a geography book, and there's a section in it called Patterns of Immigration. And America is described as a nation of immigrants. And listen to this. Here's part of the text. The Atlantic slave trade between the 1500s and 1800s brought millions of workers from Africa to the southern United States to work on agricultural plantations. The kid read that and said, workers? They're not workers. They're slaves. How can you call that workers? This kid, page 126, and he reached for his cell phone and sent a photograph of the sentence to his mother, and between the two of them, she went on Facebook immediately, and all hell broke loose. The same article pointed out that, listen to this quote, an influx of English and other European peoples, many of whom came as indentured servants to work for little or no pay. So they made the poor white Europeans they pointed out that many of them worked for little or no pay. They called the Africans workers.
Workers.
Is that amazing? All in one little McGraw-Hill. Thank you very much. And there's a reason for this kind of thing. By the way, they've already changed the online, digital copies, but they can't do anything about the books that are out there. And in 2010, the Texas Board of Education approved. This absolutely fits into what they created. They wanted a curriculum that put a conservative stamp on history and economics textbooks, including, get this, emphasizing Republican political achievements and movements. This is what state-sanctioned textbooks have been criticized for passages suggesting that Moses influenced the writing of the Constitution and dismissing the history of the separation of church and state. I remember when I used to hear about how, like, the Russians, the USSR
would write history, right?
Would rewrite history, would just take out people they didn't like, put in things they did completely. I thought, God, I can't imagine such a thing. And here, you think we don't do that? We do that.
And always have.
Yeah, and always have.
No, I remember, honestly, the first time that it occurred to me that I couldn't believe what I was reading in textbooks was when I was a very little girl. I mean, I think I was at Webster School, and we were doing a report on explorers, and I think I had Vasco da Gama. Was he the one that discovered the fountain, was looking for the fountain of youth?
The fountain of youth?
No,
he wasn't.
Who was that?
That wasn't Vasco da Gama. That was Ponce de Leon. No?
Oh, that was Ponce de Leon. So I was doing the report on Ponce de Leon, and of course I read about him in World Book, and I find out that, like most of these guys, he was not a nice guy.
He was a
and
son of a bitch,
slaughtering
right.
people and killing
Yeah.
people.
Right.
And I remember giving this report where I outed him and said, this book would have you believe that all that he was about was the fountain of youth, and in fact what he was doing was...
Yeah. It's always, well, I remember my freshman year in college, and it sent me. I didn't handle it well, if Susan can attest. But I went to classes, maybe a history class here, some class there, and it seemed like the whole first year, all those professors did was tell me that what I learned in high school was wrong.
Right.
Well, I became just enraged. I thought, what was that about? I just wasted, 12 years of my life being fed a line of crap? Myths and wishful thinking and revisionist history and this and that. Oh, my God. It's interesting. It is interesting.
So the good news is that we live in an age where where a bright student can put his outrage out there and get some results.
Yeah, exactly right.
So,
And good for
the
the
Texas
kid.
Board of Education can decide whatever they want, and then the students, because there will be plenty of good students who will, go, well, that's just bull. And they'll put it out on the internet, and they'll be the laughingstock over and over and over again.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Brings us to immigration, which is you can imagine. Well, this particular kid was in a chapter on immigrants and how
Right.
America is a nation of immigrants, and in order to really sell that idea, they had to make the slaves into workers.
Right, they were brought here as workers.
On
They were lined up
agricultural-
eagerly coming to this country for a better life.
Right. Brought in to work on the agricultural plantations. Well, it was 50 years ago that Lyndon Johnson signed an Immigration Act. And this was a biggie. There hasn't been one like it since. The Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965. It was so huge. He signed, it was a big to-do, signed it at the base of the Statue of Liberty because it was going to be in line with that Emma Lazarus poem of give me your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. And before this bill, the United States policy had been based on a formula from the 1890 census. Up until 1965, our immigration policy, who gets in, who doesn't, was based on the 1890 census. And let me tell you what that meant. It meant that if you had white skin and you came from Europe, especially Northern Europe, you could get in, no problem. But there were limits on everybody else, quotas. And it was JFK who actually said, this is nuts. And he didn't get a chance to, but Johnson picked up what Kennedy had started with this. And this bill ensured that if you, let me see, what did it exactly do? I don't want to. Nearly 59 million people have come to this country since that bill was passed. 59 million people have immigrated to this country since that bill was passed. And guess what? 3/4 of them did not come from Northern Europe. They came from Latin America and they came from Asia. And it literally changed the country. It did it not? It's pointed out that the flood of those floods of immigrants brought with them the people who founded, for instance, some of the fastest growing American companies going right now. Sergey Brin. Google, he's an immigrant. Soviet Union, came with his parents at the age of 6. The new CEO of United Airlines, Mexican, American. And an extraordinary number of Indian Americans have become chief executives of Adobe Systems, Pepsi, Motorola, and Microsoft, all immigrants. Just looking here, the president of CMU is an Indian immigrant, right?
Well, and our grandparents on one side and our great-grandparents on the other were immigrants.
Well, yeah.
I mean, most people, we're all immigrants.
There is little doubt, it says here in an op-ed in the Times today, there is little doubt that this Immigration Act signed in 1965 succeeded in ways that even its progressive supporters could not have hoped. It made America a younger, more diverse nation, truer to its ideals. But it also was a success when measured by a more conservative calculus of simply hard power. It increased American security because significant numbers of those immigrants and their children joined the military after 1965. And in every category, the armed forces became more ethnically diverse. And that flood of new immigrants promoted prosperity because they are so much a part of the digital age revolution. And he just keeps pointing out, I mean, my God, a prominent AIDS researcher came to this country as a 12-year-old from Taiwan. Immigrants helped take the space program to new places and sometimes gave their lives in that cause. An Indian-American astronaut was one of those killed in the Columbia space shuttle disaster. So, I mean, I've always argued that it is immigration that has made this country exceptional. If there is an exceptionalism to America, it is exactly that we are a nation of ingathered people. And every time those that are here start railing against letting more people in, it just proves that they don't understand why this country they supposedly are protecting and love, why they don't understand where its power
trying to kick somebody out of a lifeboat.
It's just, I got in and I'm going to slam the door in everybody else's face.
I got my seat. No, it's all full here now.
But so this person writing it say, so when opponents now of immigration say that it brings dramatic change, they are right. Yes, it does. What separates them from someone like me is that I'm not afraid of change, and they are. If something is going to change something, they freak and immediately assume it to be a negative, right?
Yeah. And I'll tell you, just walking around my neighborhood and listening to the languages that I hear, I can tell you that most of the people that are doing the work in the real hands-on work, the construction workers around here, they are not native English speakers.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And Lynn has written Steve Jobs' parents were from Syria. Not quite. His birth father was a Syrian immigrant.
Yeah,
his
he was
birth
a professor
at St. Norbert.
At St. Norbert.
Yeah,
but he married an
American
woman.
And they lived in Green Bay, which is why we know about them.
And then he
was a jerk, the Syrian. He lives now in Las Vegas, last I heard of him. The Syrian was a jerk, but yes, he gave rise to Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs, as you know, was put up for adoption because and it was raised by not his birth parents, not raised by them. He got their genetic input, which I guess was pretty mighty. So, yeah, there you have it. And the other weird thing is the other child they produced is that novelist, his sister.
Right.
Why am I blanking?
I can't think of her name.
The book Anywhere But Here. Why can't I think of her name? And Anywhere But Here, which was made into a movie, is about her and her mother leaving Green Bay, anywhere but here, and heading off to California. So she kept her daughter, but put her son, Steve Jobs, up for adoption because she was a graduate student, and she got knocked up. That's what happened with this Syrian guy, who was a son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Ask Steve Jobs. Ask the mother. Ask anyone in Green Bay. Son of a bitch. But, okay, so what else? Hey, did you see the whole new industry of fantasy football is now...
Right, under investigation because, surprise, surprise, they've been placing bets.
The guys who have information that run the fantasy football leagues or business, I've never understood any of it. Yeah, it turns out they're betting on stuff that they have essentially insider information about that the public doesn't know, and they're cleaning up. This one guy made $350,000, I can't remember when, recently, and it was based on insider trading. Well, so it's not the same. It is the same as like insider trading on Wall Street, but I don't know, is it as against the law? If it's a betting
operation? No, there's
probably.
All these gambling things.
Yeah, laws. I don't know. So just want to tell all you fantasists.
And just, corporate-wise, it is illegal to, when the public is involved, to benefit from insider information. It is.
Yeah, right. So there you have it. What else is going on? Oh, yeah, we bombed a hospital, guys.
Well, we always knew we bombed the hospital. But our story about why we bombed it is evolving.
Yes, isn't it, though? It's evolving. Whether it is incompetence, whether, in fact, it was bad intelligence we're blaming the Afghanis for telling us to bomb that thing. We don't have, our pilots, our military didn't know that was a hospital. I guess they did know it was a hospital, but they were told
they did know that it was a hospital.
Well, you never bomb a hospital. I'm sorry.
They couldn't not know.
They couldn't not know.
And they, there have been several military experts that said that, no, they know what they're,
and it was
their eyes on the target. They know exactly what they're blowing up.
And they were
and they have the coordinates of the hospital.
And they were going to pulverize it because it wasn't just, they flew over and dropped some bombs. They continued to bomb that specific target for a half hour.
The story now is that they were told that there were terrorists in the wall.
Yes, there were.
And the hospital is saying that's just bull.
Well,
who knows?
There is no hospital there anymore, and the doctors from Doctors Without Borders have taken off. The ones that survived. The ones that survived it. Okay, so we're still in Afghanistan, and we're still killing people and having our people killed. And I don't know, and you got the Russians, Suze, getting into NATO airspace with their fighter jets over Turkey, practically bumping into American jets over Syria. What the... I got Cole Porter in my ear. Cole Porter, the world has gone mad today. It's just insanity.
Yeah, it is insanity.
I sort of, we can't do anything in a mess like that. I saw a map the other day of who controls what in Syria. It looked like some crazy quilt, a little smear here, that's ISIS. Right here, that's Assad. Right over here, that's the Syrians who want to get Assad out. And over here, and it's all just spot. It is
Yeah. And meanwhile, half of Syria is afloat in the
half of Syria. The people have taken off, and there was some idiotic anti-immigrant letter to, I think, our paper the other day saying, we can't take these people in. We'll end up having to, take care of them. They don't have the skills. And I'm thinking, you idiot. Whatever American wrote that doesn't realize that these immigrants are probably, I'll just pluck one out. And the odds that the person I plucked out is more highly educated than the guy who wrote that that letter to the editor, huge. The Syrians that are leaving are college educated. They're doctors. They're lawyers. They are people who were living a good life, desperately trying to hang on as their country went crazy. And these are immigrants that, are going to help spur economies. I don't know. It's insane. Suze, I can't.
It's crazy. I mean, I look at the Bosnian population in St. Louis, and clearly here too. There's a huge one here, and they've taken over whole areas that were in bad shape. They've brought life back to cities. They're hardworking. Why wouldn't
immigrants invariably are hardworking because, as I've pointed out,
what's not to like?
I know. I don't know. They're hardworking as hell because they had the courage to leave everything they knew behind for a chance. And you think they're going to squander the chance? They're going to work their tails off to make this work. Immigrants are the most noble of people. And people who turn them away or don't get that are just friggin' fools. I'll tell you what I would do in a minute. I will trade these anti-immigrant Americans for immigrants. I would love to take these know-nothing idiot Americans who are maybe 2-3 generations in as Americans and kick them across the border and take in the hungry, wretched refuse.
Right, and Donald Trump can be their president.
Yeah, he can go with the idiots. It's just unbelievable not to understand the brilliance of building a country out of immigrants.
And it's just a fundamental denial of who that very person is.
Jesus. So, I don't know. The world's nuts and ain't getting any less nutty. There might be life on Mars. Maybe we can all go there. Screw that place up, too.
So are you going to see did you see the movie?
Have you seen it?
No, but one of my kids saw it and said it was really very, very good.
It's gotten very good reviews. The movie The Martian with Matt Damon as an American astronaut who is inadvertently left behind alone on Mars. And it's about him and how he survives and then the rescue effort to come and get him. And it's getting rave reviews. It's saying it's not what you would expect. It's not it's just brilliant.
No, that's it. And so I'll tell you, it was my daughter that went to see it and liked it, which,
Yeah. So I definitely do want to see it. I do. I worry when things get hyped a lot because then I get disappointed. But yeah, I think it sounds like a good idea. And Suze, tomorrow, the Cubs and the Pirates meet.
I know. I can't believe you didn't lead with that. I'm in such a dilemma. These are like the three teams that I pay
I
attention
know,
to.
me too. If it were any time else, any other thing, I would be so rooting for the Cubs. But of course I'm not. I'm rooting for the Pirates. I have a horrible feeling the Cubs are going to win the game. And I'll tell you, if the Cubs win, Suze, I think they're going to take out St. Louis.
Well, more power to them.
Yeah, but okay, if the Cubs win, who you rooting for, Cubs or St. Louis?
No, it'll be one of those things where I will be, I'd be hard-pressed not to be happy either way. I'd be happier if the Cubs won, if you want to know the truth.
Me too, because St. Louis...
it's just enough already.
Yeah,
I think
right.
It's good for the sport to share the wealth.
It is indeed. So, anyway, I hope it's a great game no matter what, but I'm going to be a wreck. I don't know if you want to tune in on Thursday. I not only won't have a voice, I'll be sleep-deprived and just generally flipped. Of course, if the Pirates win, I'll have some energy.
Right.
If they lose,
but I'd like to point out that you made it through the whole hour. Congratulations.
I
We
did.
both did.
I know, and you know what the difference was? We shared talking. Because yesterday, when I was talking the whole time, I made it. I think my meltdown came about halfway through, and my voice just couldn't do it. So that's great, huh? All right,
yeah,
Suze.
Well,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okie doke. You go work
Okay,
out
feel
now.
better.
Thank you. You too.
Okay.
Okay.
You.
Toodaloo.
Toodaloo. Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. Enjoy this beautiful day, and see you tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.